As well as being known for my love of the horror genre and all of its media, I feel like a massive part of my identity is my passion for weird artwork. I've tried to integrate the art I love into all of my videos over time while focusing on whatever little piece of media it is I choose to analyze. For that reason, I feel like my art style and characters have become as deep-rooted into this channel as the media I choose to analyze. But where did my artwork start? This is a question I get asked a surprising amount, and my response every single time is the name of one specific game. A game that stuck with me and inspired me so much that it found its way into my artwork and characters forever. And that game is Yume Nikki. Never in my life have I found myself more inspired and invested in the visual style of a game as Yume Nikki. The game's atmosphere, visual direction, and soundtrack all mix together beautifully to create this surreal and unsettling game that feels like something torn right out of a dream. And that's why I'd love to talk about it in depth today. In this video, I plan to break down everything that makes Yume Nikki an artistic masterpiece, and why it's the game that inspired me to go the way I did in the art I make. So, without further ado, let's delve into it. What was that? What was that? No, it's him. Not him. I can't do this again. Don't make me do this again. Not again.
Hello. Oh, don't you worry, Pastra. I'm not here to torment you this time. No, instead I come bearing good news. You see, I figured that if I'm going to be in control of this channel, I may as well do my part to keep it afloat for you so we don't miss out on any future fun. So I thought to myself, what does this channel need? And one thing screamed out in my mind: advertisements. That's right, advertisements. Every good channel needs a good sponsor, and luckily for you, Pastra, I found just the one. So, without further ado, Pastra, could you please introduce today's sponsor?
I'd love to give a big thank you to Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring today's video. Raid Shadow Legends just celebrated their 3rd anniversary as one of the top RPG games out there. But seriously, this game started out strong from the very beginning and never slowed down. The thing that really blows my mind is that even after establishing themselves as a leading mobile game, they never allow themselves to rest on their laurels and just keep adding new content and game modes every couple of months. Just check out some of the amazing things that happened in the game during those years. An amazing addition to the game is the Doom Tower. This game mode introduced a whole world of new and terrifying bosses to slay. Sprawling over 120 levels, the Doom Tower brought exciting new challenges for seasoned players. As a high-level collection RPG, Raid started with hundreds of unique characters and bosses, but that didn't stop them from adding more and more unique and new champions. The game designers must have had a field day creating these amazing characters. Just check out those sketches, they're so badass. And if adding new characters wasn't enough, last year Raid added a whole new faction. The Shadowkin are a tribe of warriors from the Far East, recently liberated from the reign of evil. But that doesn't mean they're the good guys either. For me, they're one of the coolest looking factions in the game. And of course, no review can end without addressing the newest and biggest addition to Raid. I'm talking about the Hydra clan boss. It's without a doubt the biggest, baddest, and scariest boss to ever set foot in Teleria. Although, I'm not sure that Hydras even have feet. Anyway, this monster has multiple heads, each with a different ability and requires a different strategy to destroy. But here's where it gets really challenging. If you manage to chop off one of the heads, another one grows to replace it. It can be quite discouraging, but on the other hand, this boss gives some of the best artifacts in the entire game. Honestly, I can just keep going on and on about Raid Shadow Legends. It's really the perfect game for all player types. You can take it easy and play casually, but you can also dive in for hours and have an amazing time. No wonder they're celebrating 3 years, and I'm sure they're going to be here for years to come. I invite you all to join the party and download Raid Shadow Legends in the link below. And there's a ton happening in Raid this month. with some new champions, an update to Tag Arena, and a full schedule of special events and tournaments. But here's the main event. Raid's currently running a special Deliana Chase event, where you can get your hands on the amazing Deliana, a brand new legendary champion from the High Elves faction, just by logging in. All you have to do is log in and play Raid for 7 days between now and July 20th, and you'll get Deliana for free. That's it! Deliana is one of the strongest support champions in the entire game, and can help carry your team get past many of Raid's tougher challenges. You don't want to miss her. This is the best time to get started in Raid, and if you click my link in the description or scan my QR code here on the screen, you'll get a free starter pack worth almost $40. We're talking 3 champions at once: Misericord, Tiger Soul, Romario, plus 10 Magic XP brews, 10 Force XP brews, and 10 Spirit brews. That's huge! They gave only 1 champion in the past. Don't miss your chance to get such big rewards. All this treasure will be waiting for you here, and it's that easy. Just click the link in the description and I'll see you in the game. And just when you thought it was over, the gifts keep coming. All new players, listen up. Once you're in game, just enter promo code MyDeliana to get your hands on everything. It's simple. Get 50 XP brews to instantly get your legendary hero Deliana to max level 50, as well as a ton of silver. The picture of the promo code should be on your screen right now. Make sure you don't miss it. So before I delve into what I love about this game, I'd first like to talk a bit about what Yume Nikki even is. Yume Nikki is an RPG Maker horror game released all the way back in 2004. The objective behind the game is extremely simple. We play in a top-down world where the character we play as, Maratsuki, enters into her own dreams every night to explore the vastness that is the dream world. We only have one objective in this game, and that is collecting all the different effects you can get in the many different areas the game has to offer. And it's exploring and hunting for these effects that make up the entirety of Yume Nikki as a game. In my opinion, this game is better described as an experience rather than a full-on game. The objective we have to complete in the game is present, yes, but it more so exists to give you an incentive to do what the real intention behind the game is, and that's explore. At its core, Yume Nikki is a surreal game that's all about exploring strange environments and interacting with whatever it is you find there. It completely sacrifices having a coherent story and characters in favor of weird, memorable environments that are meant to confuse and intrigue you. And that's what made me adore it. Every single time I have the pleasure of playing this game, I always find something new and interesting hidden within one of the many worlds it has to offer. Whether it be a bizarre character, a strange item, or something else entirely. This game always has something interesting waiting around every single corner for you to find. Now, hearing that description, you may be wondering to yourself, what about this game makes it horror? Well, my answer to that is that Yume Nikki isn't really a horror game in the traditional sense. There aren't any big threats present through the game, it doesn't really have any major jump scares, and it doesn't really utilize any specific scare tactics. You see, the horror of Yume Nikki almost entirely comes from its atmosphere. This game does an amazing job through its sound design, visuals, and environments to create this looming feeling of loneliness that you can't exactly shake while playing it. The environments are huge and sometimes overwhelming, and they lack any sort of comforting presence to them. Sure, you can encounter the occasional NPC, but they usually won't even interact with you, and the ones who do so very sparsely. This lack of companionship found throughout the game is oftentimes combined with these black voids that make up many of the game's environments, with you walking along a featureless zone with the occasional bizarre imagery floating around it. The environments alone can give you this dreadful feeling that you're one small person trying to go through a vast void all on your own. But then you couple that with the soundtrack. The soundtrack of Yume Nikki is really what elevates the atmosphere in a lot of its environments, in my opinion. Oftentimes the soundtrack takes the form of a singular repeating melody that goes on endlessly, or a droning ambience which echoes through the entirety of an area. These songs add an extra layer to each environment we enter, oftentimes making them feel alien and incomprehensible. And when the soundtrack isn't working to create this feeling of surrealism, it often goes in a different direction, trying to make an area you're in either feel hostile or downright depressing. No matter what tone it chooses to take, the soundtrack works to make us feel small and alone in the vastness that is this game's dream world. And then of course, no good discussion of Yume Nikki's horror is complete without the creepy characters and events you can encounter. As I said at the start of this discussion, Yume Nikki has a lot of different events and characters hidden around its many nooks and crannies. Most of the time, these events are just strange and leave a lot up to your imagination. But other times, the game throws a curveball at you and decides to throw something really disturbing on your screen. I think one of the best examples of this is a character you can encounter by the name of Uboa. Uboa is a character that the player can encounter completely by mistake, and in their first playthrough they may never even find her. She's encountered when the player finds a house belonging to a character named Poniko in the Pink Sea. Upon first encountering her, she doesn't really seem to do anything. From inside of Poniko's home, you can try interacting with her, and aside from that, the only other thing you can do is turn the lights off. Normally, all this does is change the room to a strange black color palette, changing the music alongside it. But there's a very rare chance that when the player does this happens. This is something that happens completely without warning, and everything that comes after Uboa is meant to give the player this sense of distress in her presence. After she spawns, you physically can't leave the house, and interacting with her will take you to this strange world where a massive, bloodied entity watches you. Once you arrive here, there's no way to escape other than you waking up or using the hand effect, which allows you to teleport. It's moments like this that give the player a sense of paranoia while playing the game. Like at any moment, this strange and interesting dream will suddenly turn into a nightmare without any warning, and that's part of the thing I adore about Yume Nikki. Of course, I'm not going to say that Yume Nikki is a terrifying horror game that traumatized me or anything. What I'm trying to get at is that this game does an amazing job at giving the player a constant sense of unease. It builds up this sense of loneliness using its environments, soundtracks, and characters that makes the player feel insignificant in a massive world that exists all around them. It's an experience which is really hard to describe, but makes me feel something that I never felt from any other game I've ever played. And that leads me to how this game inspired my artwork. Yume Nikki's style is one of my favorites I've ever seen from any game I've played. The characters you can meet throughout the game often have these extremely colorful and wacky designs, which can either be interpreted as having some kind of deeper meaning, or just be strange for the sake of it. Their bright color schemes are often made to contrast with many of the game's darker backgrounds, giving it an almost blacklight or neon aesthetic that I've grown to be obsessed with. I remember after I found Yume Nikki how much I tried to recreate the feeling its style and characters gave me into my own artwork, designing bizarre and otherworldly creatures with little rhyme or reason to them. It was such a breath of fresh air for me, because back then I tried my hardest to make characters and designs which were accurate to real life, and often being frustrated when I failed. But finding Yume Nikki changed that. I became so obsessed with designing characters that were just weird for the sake of it because it was fun, and that slowly developed to be my permanent art style, leading to all the characters and drawings my channel has become known for. And for that reason, I owe a lot to this game. It's a strange, dreamlike experience which plays on sometimes disturbing visuals and music that stays in your head for a long time afterwards. Its characters have become extremely iconic in their own ways, with many of the designs and ideas behind them going on to potentially inspire other important characters in many games that came after. If I never found Yume Nikki, I feel like my overall style of expression wouldn't be the same as a result, and for that reason I cannot recommend it enough. It's free on Steam, and there's tons of things I didn't mention in this video so you can see them for yourself. Either way though, that's the end of this discussion for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I greatly look forward to seeing you again in whatever my next project ends up being. Goodbye for now.